Today we are going to talk about 5 things that matter more after 50 than they did before. Not because the sea changes, because you do. Your relationship with the boat changes. Your margin for error changes. And what used to be a minor inconvenience can quietly become something much more serious. Let's get into it. 1. The standing rigging you have not thought about in years. Standing rigging rarely gives dramatic warnings. That is the problem. The swage fittings at the base of a stay can develop hairline cracks you will never see from the deck. The wire itself can suffer internal corrosion, especially on boats kept in humid coastal environments. You look up at the rig, the wire looks shiny, and you move on. What you do not see is the fatigue building inside each strand where the wire enters the swage terminal. That is where it starts. Quietly, invisibly. Most riggers will tell you that standing rigging on a cruising sailboat should be replaced roughly every 10 to 15 years, depending on use and conditions. But here is what actually happens. Owners look at wire that still looks fine and keep sailing, season after season. The logic feels reasonable. If it has not failed yet, it probably will not fail now. That logic holds, until it does not. When a stay fails offshore, it does not politely fall onto the deck. It often takes the mast with it. Losing a mast offshore is one of the most severe structural failures a cruising sailor can experience. And it almost always begins with a fitting that should have been inspected seasons earlier. Right now you might be thinking, my rigging is fine. I would know if something was wrong. When did you last look at the swage fittings up close? Not from the cockpit, up close, with a flashlight. Any hairline cracks? Any rust staining at the terminal entry? Any internal movement? These things are invisible from a distance, and they are unforgiving offshore. After 50, the calculation changes. You are not trying to prove something out there anymore. You are trying to get home. Replacing standing rigging on a 40-foot sloop is not cheap, but it is a fraction of the cost of replacing an entire rig from the mast step up. And it is nothing compared to what a dismasting costs when you are 200 miles from the nearest harbor, 30 minutes at the dock with a flashlight, every season. The difference between a manageable problem and a catastrophe is often that small. And a quick reminder, if you are finding this useful, subscribing to the channel helps us keep making these videos. 2. The engine you keep treating as optional. I hear this often. I bought a sailboat to sail, not to motor. It is a lovely philosophy. It holds up beautifully on a perfect afternoon with 12 knots of breeze on the beam and nothing but open water ahead. It falls apart the moment you are trying to enter a narrow harbor entrance, with a cross-current running, wind on the nose, and the engine will not start. The auxiliary engine on a cruising sailboat is not optional equipment. It is critical safety infrastructure. This is true at any age. But after 50, it becomes something more specific. It becomes the system that gives you options when your body is tired, when the weather turns faster than expected, when the passage has taken longer than planned, and when the crew is running low on reserves. An engine that starts every time is not a luxury. It is seamanship. Yet owners skip oil changes. Delay fuel filter replacements. Let raw water impellers become brittle without a second thought, until the engine overheats in an anchorage. Forget to close seacocks when the engine is not running. A well-maintained marine diesel can run for thousands of hours. A neglected one will fail at the worst possible time. That is not bad luck. That is physics. Someone described this. They had been sailing for more than 20 years. Strong background, good instincts. Then, one season, the engine hesitated coming into a tight marina on a gusty afternoon. Just a hesitation. They managed. But afterward they said something like this. 10 years ago I would have handled that with muscle and adrenaline. Now I need the engine to work. That single hesitation permanently changed how they thought about maintenance. When did you last change the impeller? When did you last inspect the fuel tank for contamination? When did you last check the engine mounts? These are not dramatic jobs. They are afternoon jobs. And they are the difference between arriving and not arriving. Engine replacements in sailboats are particularly expensive, not because of the engine itself, because of access. Removing a diesel through a narrow companionway is not a job any boatyard enjoys quoting. Do the maintenance. Run the engine. Know it. Trust it. 3. The electrical system behind the panel. Open the electrical panel behind the nav station on a 20-year-old cruiser, and you will often find something that looks like the history of every owner who came before you. Unlabeled wires. Corroded terminals. Circuits added at different times, by different hands, with different standards. It works, mostly, so people leave it alone. The real danger here is not inconvenience. It is fire. Corroded connections create resistance. Resistance creates heat. In an enclosed fiberglass and teak interior, That is how boats burn at the dock. Not at sea in a storm. At the dock. On a calm night, with no warning. Beyond fire risk, poor wiring causes stray current corrosion that silently eats your underwater metals. Bronze seacocks, propeller shafts, rudder fittings. The boat can look completely normal above the waterline while the underwater hardware is being consumed by a wiring fault that has been there for years. After 50, this matters for a second reason. Fatigue changes decision-making. A younger sailor might catch a burning smell at 2 in the morning and respond quickly. Fatigue slows that response. The electrical system should be something you trust completely, not something you hope works tonight. An electrical audit from a qualified marine electrician is not a luxury item. It is a safety investment. And once done properly, it gives you peace of mind on passages that no amount of experience or confidence can substitute for. 4. The seacocks you have not operated this season. Every through-hull fitting below the waterline is a potential flooding point. On older boats, original bronze fittings may have been sitting in salt water for decades. Dezinsification can leave them looking perfectly solid while they are structurally brittle. Tap a suspect fitting with a wrench. Healthy bronze rings clearly. Dezinsified bronze sounds dull. The difference matters enormously. Seacocks should be opened and closed regularly so they do not seize in place. This sounds simple. It is one of the most neglected routines in boat ownership. A seized seacock that cannot be closed when a hose fails below the waterline is not just an inconvenience. It is how boats sink at the dock on calm, sunny days. Not dramatically, just quietly. While the owner is ashore. Someone lived this. They left the boat for a week between passages. Came back to find the bilge pump running and 6 inches of water below the floorboards. A raw water hose had slipped its clamp on a fitting that had never been operated. The seacock was seized open. The damage was significant and completely preventable. Right now, you might be thinking, I would notice something like that. The boat would give signs. Sometimes it does. Sometimes the boat sits unattended for 4 days and the pump runs until the battery dies. After 50, trips to the boat can become shorter and less frequent. The boat sits more. Boats that sit accumulate problems quietly. Walk the bilge. Operate every seacock. Inspect every hose and every clamp. Do this before every passage. Not after something feels wrong. 5. The maintenance you keep moving to next season. This is the most common pattern in boat ownership. And after 50, it becomes something more specific. It becomes a compounding problem that arrives at exactly the wrong time. You have worked hard to reach a point where you can sail when you want, go where you want, spend real time on the water. Deferred maintenance is the thing that quietly takes that away from you. It starts small. A leaking fitting, a worn sheet, a bilge pump switch that sticks occasionally. Each item seems minor, but deferred maintenance accumulates like interest on debt. A leaking fitting softens deck core. Soft core weakens surrounding hardware. Weak hardware shifts under load and allows more water in. 3 years later, you are rebuilding a foredeck instead of resealing a fitting. The math always works against you. Someone spent years telling themselves the boat needed work, but it could wait. When they finally hauled it for a survey before a planned offshore passage, the list was longer than they had imagined. Corroded chain plates hidden behind interior panels, deck core that crumbled under pressure, keel bolts that had not been inspected in over a decade. The passage was postponed. The season was lost. The repairs cost more than the boat was worth on paper. Not because of storms or bad luck, because of patience that had run out. The most expensive failures I have seen were not caused by dramatic events. They were caused by owners who loved the idea of their boat more than the discipline of maintaining it. After 50, that tension becomes more visible. The passages you want to make are often bigger. The places you want to go are often farther. The margin for unplanned failures is smaller. Attention to small things is not optional at that stage. It is the practice that makes everything else possible. A cruising sailboat rewards attention. Seals, fasteners, wire connections, zincs. The quiet signals that something is beginning to change. These signals are always there. The sailors who last offshore are the ones who hear them early. When the fixes are still simple and the stakes are still low, the sea does not care about your experience level or your intentions. It only responds to the condition of your boat. After 50, that is what matters most. Not slowing down, not sailing less, paying closer attention to what the boat is telling you. Outro. All 5 of these are manageable with regular attention. The sailors still going strong in their 60s and 70s are not the lucky ones. They are the ones who paid attention to the quiet signals early, who replaced the rigging before it failed, If you have been through one of these, or if you have experience that could help other sailors who are still figuring this out, share it in the comments. Include your age and your experience if you are comfortable. The boat will take care of you. See you in the next one.